And now to present the award for the category of social adversity, let's welcome one of Randine's favorite sponsors, and that's Global Television, of course. Global has been a platinum media partner for all 18 years of the Courage to Come Back Awards, along with the Province newspaper, News 1130, Fairchild Media, and TV Week magazine. They have done a tremendous job at ensuring that the message of courage is known throughout this entire province from end to end. Would you please welcome the anchor of the News at Noon and News at 5, Robin Stickley.
Hi, everyone. What a special honor to be here with you tonight. Thank you so much for having me. The category of social adversity recognizes the person who has demonstrated achievement in the face of discrimination, abuse, poverty, or other significant forms of adversity.
The facts are these. Poverty was a way of life for her family. They went hungry. When they lived in Fort McMurray, they would not pay rent. Then the landlord would angrily knock at the door and her parents would hide. She would answer the door. And then they would be kicked into the street, losing their meager possessions. She doesn't remember all the homes she lived in. What she does remember is her parents' drug use. She remembers unbearable domestic violence. She remembers staying very quiet, trying not to anger her stepfather. She remembers being beaten. She remembers once, as punishment, her nose was held shut, and then when she opened her mouth to breathe, liquid soap was poured down her throat. She was 7 years old. Her name is Meredith Graham. Meredith grew up in fear. Fear that she wouldn't eat that day, fear of being beaten, fear of being evicted or robbed, fear of failing her brothers because from the time she could remember, she was their caregiver. In grade 8, she started running away, torn between her need to care for her brothers and her desire to flee the abuse of everyday life. Soon, she was homeless, couch surfing with friends, engaging in self-destructive behavior. Using her knife, she began cutting herself. The pain of the cut releasing her from the pain of her life. One day, she brought the knife to school and dropped it. Imagine that drop. A knife falling to the floor. In most cases, it would signal the beginning of the end of another soul lost to our society. And yet, that didn't happen. Instead, it was the beginning of the miracle that is Meredith Graham. Meredith's situation caught the attention of her high school vice principal. Government agencies were approached for help, but Meredith did not qualify for intervention. So the school began to support her with counseling and other resources. Teachers reached out to her, but Meredith still struggled. She often did not have enough to eat or know where she would sleep that night. She was clinically depressed. She did not believe she was worthy of living. When Meredith was 15, she was attacked by her brother. He had a knife. She locked herself in the bathroom and called a teacher. The teacher came and picked her up and got her to safety, bought Meredith dinner, gave Meredith a place to stay. Another teacher offered her a more permanent place to stay, and with this help, Meredith began to change her life. To no one's surprise but Meredith's, she found she was a natural leader both in school, at her church, and at summer camps. And she found the drama program at her high school. In the theater, on stage, backstage, taking tickets, or starring in a show, she found safety and self-expression quite unlike anything she had ever experienced. She was surrounded by love. An entire high school had determined to help, and with that love, Meredith flourished. Yet one dark and rainy Monday, Meredith was rushed to hospital after overdosing on pills. The suicide attempt led to the government finally taking her into care. Meredith graduated from high school in 2006. A second suicide attempt led to a diagnosis of bipolar disorder. In spite of this, she applied and was accepted into the Performing Arts program at Capilano University, and 3 years later graduated with a degree. But as much as she loved theater, Meredith's true passion was helping others. To that end, she is today enrolled in the Child and Youth Care Counseling Program at Douglas College. Meredith is the student government representative of the David Lamb campus at Douglas College. She has initiated a program called Peer Health Educators, which educates students on all aspects of health, but with a focus on mental health. She tells her story fearlessly, on the radio, in newspapers, on the Douglas College website, through her blog. She is involved with the Vancouver Foundation's Fostering Change initiative, aimed at advocating for youth in the foster care system. And in 2017, she will graduate as a fully accredited social worker. And you know what? Our society will be so much richer on that day because Meredith seeks an end to suffering, safety for those in peril, peace for those in pain. She demonstrates the possible with her incredible courage to come back.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 2016 Courage to Come Back Award recipient for social adversity, Meredith Graham. Oh my word. So to begin, I'd just like to thank you, everyone in this room, for being here. And I've prepared a little spoken word piece, so if you would follow along with me, that is highly recommended. Can you hear my heart beat from your seats? I can feel it, resounding loud and proud, reminding me to own this moment because it is indeed real. I'm not entirely sure where to start, but when writing this, I thought I would offer a part of my sensitive heart and a piece of my mind. We have but a brief moment of time. How do I illustrate for you stories describing, not hiding, the width and depth and breadth of my pain and my shame and my hope? Providing a call to action towards permanency, facilitating capacities for individual and community resiliency. How can I say in this moment, this fraction of a day, the courage I need to come back every day, and the ways I've been loved to be with you here today? By loving people and a powerful God who wouldn't let me die. There are not enough ballrooms to hold my gratitude. This is what I know to be true, that tonight might be a celebration of 5 other recipients and me, but it is not solely about us, it's about you too. A reflection of all you've done and currently do, the wisdom you bring, and your voices of truth. This is my story, my words, my worries, my triumphs, and my glories. I believe in the theory of relativity, which reminds me that there is no universality to adversity. Darkness is relative. My darkness was facilitated by some of my relatives, some particularly unforgiving genetics and a generally hostile and volatile environment that lent itself to contribute significantly to my journey of adversity. I learned from birth that my worth was earned based on silence, violence, hard works, good deeds, badges, high grades, and accolades. I was safest when I was caretaking, both the children and the caretakers, and when not in anyone's way. I was of value when there was something I could do for you, used, abused. I was a necessity, not a desire. Conditioned to accept conditions without my consent or permission, seeking freedom but hit and guilted into submission, paying the price of admission into my family of origin, an incidental accident, a mistake. Laying awake, planning my death and plotting my escape. Fear breathed here. Multiple layers of hurt and confusion, with a facade of falsified ability, adding to the illusion that intervention was not necessary by the ministry.
leaving me grieving a family who, for many reasons but not limited to their existence within systems of oppression and sadness, could not show that they loved me, questioning my reason for living and giving and contributing to this wondrous world. I was a wise woman and a little girl. I am a wise woman and a little girl. I yearned so desperately, and arguably still do, to trust I am loved without conditions, provisions, or parameters, that my permanency people permanently have an honest interest and are undeniably and incurably invested. Trust me, these supports have been tested more times than I like to admit, and yet they still stand tall beside me and catch me when and if I fall. My mental illnesses, though many, are not the entirety of my identity and have provided some order through all the abuse and disorder. My OCD was inevitably developed to protect me with a small sense of power and control. My anxiety to warn me and make me decently funny. My depression, perhaps, so that someone would see me. My bipolar disorder, so I could appreciate the chaos and the order, understand the strength it takes some days to stand and the value of a helping hand, and to appreciate the inebriation and vibration of elation, and that sometimes the train can't stop at the station, and instead you have to keep creating and communicating ways to change our world. My borderline personality disorder, to be reframed as I've been instructed by a friend and instructor, that I am a trauma survivor. But where there is hell, there is fire, and I've been told it exists in my eyes. I'm 27 years old with nothing to prove but much life to live and much love to give. Sometimes you can give what you didn't get. When I was homeless at 13, I never thought I would make it to 18, but now it seems I'm living my dreams and my future gleams. Endless opportunity and possibility, likely studying to get my doctorate and facilitate healing through narrative storytelling in a theater therapy setting. There is power in both silence and words to connect worlds and heal hurts. I continue to advocate with and for young people like me in and from care, to dare to challenge the system and the workers within it and the government that runs it and the government that runs it to support young people past 19 when they age out of care, because care ought not to expire. To take our remaining post-secondary institutions to task and ask them to waive tuition for our brave young people from care who dare to share their gifts with the world, universal opportunities for college and university. This is my story, the lonely, gory tale of darkness and glory, the continued journey. There is no doubt that this night is about bravery, humility, fragility, and vulnerability, not just in the people who stand in their strength before you, but in you yourselves too. Ordinary people who have done extraordinary things, and in that you are extraordinary people because you have done ordinary things. Here is my call to action, and here is what we all must do. Believe there is much opportunity and responsibility. Ask yourselves as individuals and communities, how are you or going to be an instrument in a young person's symphony of resiliency? This is our story. What part will you play to change lives today? Thank you.